Hello and welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. You may recall that earlier this year we brought you an interview from Colorado State University's AgNext initiative. Well, there's been a few developments since we last caught up with AgNext director Dr. Kim Stackhouse-Lawson. In particular, there's an exciting alliance that's been announced in the dairy industry, and we're here to talk to you about that, Kim. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Sarah.
For those of you that are joining us online, please feel free to post your questions and your comments in the chat box to the right of your screen. If you're watching us from our social media channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, feel free to post your questions directly in our social media feeds, and we'll get those over to Kim. So Kim, start us off with an overview. I know we talked about it a few months ago, but give us an overview of AgNext and its focus and its mission, if you would, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So AgNext is a new initiative at Colorado State University. It's a provost initiative, and it sits between the College of Ag and the College of Vet Med and Biomedical Sciences. And we're a team that really focuses on the development of scalable solutions in animal agriculture. And the most exciting thing about AgNext is that CSU has committed a total of 12 tenured faculty to be hired through a cluster hire strategy to really work on sustainability and developing those scalable solutions. And so to us, we really have the opportunity to bring together a multidisciplinary team to attack wicked problems. So far, we've hired 2 livestock economists, both focus on carbon markets. One is particularly interested in ecosystem services, and another in precision technology adoption. We've brought on 2 greenhouse gas specialists, one focused in more live animal work, and the other a really robust modeler. And then we have brought on 2 production scientists, one focused in feedlot systems and the other in dairy systems. And so we're really excited for those faculty members to join our team.
Now, AgNext made a rather big announcement here recently, and that's what we're here to talk about, as I mentioned at the start of this, collaboration in the dairy sector. What is that all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were able to partner with DairyMax, and they have gifted us dollars to really advance sustainability in the dairy industry. And those dollars come to CSU AgNext in support of our program. And it gives our faculty really the opportunity to use those funds to develop sustainability material. And so those will come in installments over 4 years. And it's important for us because most of our work is actually in engagement. So all of those cluster hires that I referred to have a 50% engagement appointment. And so what that means is that we really work in partnership with our supply chain partners to figure out what they're most challenged with, and then to address those challenges. So historically, right, academia very much had an extension model where we extended education and there was very little listening that happened. AgNext is the opposite of that. We are actually intended to listen, understand those wicked challenges, develop really strong academic and producer partnerships, and then to work on those wicked challenges together and develop solutions that can go back into the supply chain. And so those models require additional funds, right? Because that engagement piece is actually quite costly. You can't just engage sitting in an office, and there are funds that are required to develop trust, go to the farm, host meetings where you can actually hear from people, experience what they might be experiencing. So perhaps we begin with just a simple research project, understanding what the wicked challenge is, right? And measuring things around whatever wicked challenge that might be so that we can begin to start developing solutions. And so DairyMax saw alignment with that general mission and vision, and was excited about the opportunity to co-develop sustainable solutions between leading academic scientists and dairy producers, and felt that it was a worthy cause that they wanted to contribute to as well. So we're very excited about this strategic agreement with DairyMax.
And DairyMax is made up of dairy producers, right? Dairy industry folks. So you've got that base that you can turn to for some of these, for some of that insight, I would say, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think it's really important when we think about sustainability. The change is going to happen if it's needed on farm and on ranch and on dairies. And so as we work to develop solutions, it's really important that we co-create those with our producers, because at the end of the day, they will be the ones that execute whatever solution that might be. And they know more about their operation than anybody else. And one of the real things we need to be careful about around sustainability is the creation of unintended consequences. And those might be trade-offs that a producer, somebody who lives and breathes it every day, might be able to identify for us first. And so by collaborating with and working with producers, we're actually able to innovate faster. And so working with an organization like Dairy Max, producers that are progressive and proactive and care, that really accelerates what we are able to do as a group of scientists.
So when you forged an alliance with Dairy Max, what are they getting out of it? Is it the opportunity to be engaged and to have kind of a voice at the table, or what do they see, if you can speak on their behalf, as the advantage?
Yeah, so that's interesting. An interesting question, because the way that they gifted us the money, which they actually did, there's no ties tying us to any deliverables for Dairy Max, and so it's truly their belief in this vision and mission, and them really wanting to come to the table to support AgNext and Colorado dairies and dairies across the West to reimagine what a strong industry academic partnership could be. So when you ask me what they're getting from it, right, it's a bit of we're not sure yet what the tangible deliverables will be to Dairy Max in particular. We've been able to attract a group of scientists here, one of which Dairy Max was actually able to help us recruit and encourage to come to CSU, that really believe in this, right? They believe in this idea that science can be more impactful and more innovative and can be faster, sort of developed faster if it's done in partnership with producers. And in the sustainability space, there's an absolute need for that, right? We're not stronger apart. We're stronger together when it comes to sustainability, because it is such a wicked problem. And so as we bring a diverse group of individuals together, from economists who think about cost burdens, markets, developing markets, what are the important aspects of a carbon market, insetting, offsetting, achieving net zero goals. We have modelers that actually do the modeling work where we can't measure specific things. We have modelers that can predict that. They look at the full system. And then we have scientists who actually study the animal and study the molecule, and maybe experts in digestion, for example, manure digestion. And so the opportunity for us to bring together these diverse people and then to actually get them to a dairy, on a dairy, to support them in working with dairies. That's what it's all about. So how will we spend the money to get Dairy Max the outcomes they're looking for, which is more sustainable dairy production? I'm not sure yet. I would imagine that it might come in the form of funding graduate students who are interested in this type of research. It might come in the form of doing some preliminary data so that we can leverage those funds and go and win larger grants. We will certainly be hosting a listening session where we hear from Dairy Max's producers, and we really listen to their concerns and what keeps them up at night and how they are imagining what their future production systems look like. Because we really want to be that team that's not only answering the big challenges of today, but what are the challenges 5, 10, 15 years out, and how do we begin to get a handle on what solutions might look like for a dairy of the future?
So you're working on behalf of producers. I mean, you're helping them to develop and to understand maybe different production practices and different ways of doing things. Does AgNext also have any kind of, say, outreach from a consumer perspective in terms of saying, hey, you know what, we've looked at this and this is the best way to do this or that?
Yeah, that's a good question, Sarah. And it's something that we're developing. I would say our primary focus is, of course, the supply chain and stakeholders within the supply chain. So we don't just do work with producers. We work with regulators quite a bit. We work with representatives. We work with food companies. We work with NGOs. And we're very focused on those stakeholder audiences first, because that's who we listen to, right? That's the engagement. That's the identification of the wicked challenges. And that's who we co-develop solutions with. The consumer is a really interesting stakeholder group as well. Not one that we have particular expertise in and with, but one who I really think we want to connect to. And I think we have a unique opportunity to connect to through the university. So as AgNext grows, our faculty members will teach and we'll have teaching appointments. And so I do think that we'll have an opportunity to engage with students at Colorado State, not just students in animal agriculture or animal science, and not just students that are interested in sustainability, but students who are interested in food. And I think we're all interested in food. And then when we think about equipping our scientists so that they can go communicate with consumers, that's something we're putting a lot of time in. So we have PR and communications professionals that work alongside our faculty to help them better communicate these tough scientific questions and solutions and research papers into material that is more digestible, either in blogs, on social posts, videos. And we really try to bring that research to light if anybody is looking for it. So I think that'll be an area we continue to grow. Sarah, the consumer is difficult to reach, as you know, but hopefully folks that are in that space who really work with the consumer a lot can look to us as a resource, and we will have spokespeople that will be equipped with the ability to speak to a consumer and to hopefully resonate with them if there's a question about the science that we do.
So we've talked about sustainability in the general sense, but can you give us any insight as to what AgNext is perhaps planning on, how it's planning to approach sustainability in the dairy industry from say a research perspective, or what's its initial main focus when it starts to dive into that dairy sector? Have those things been identified at this point?
Yeah, so we will host a listening session with DairyMax's dairy producers to hear from them, right? So that we can really articulate what is most pressing to them. In our time that AgNext has been in existence, which has been about 2 years, we have developed phenomenal relationships with our dairy producers. We have dairy producers that are engaged through our Industry Innovation Working Group, which is a group of 12 individuals, each with a 3-year term, who really guide our work and to really, they own that engagement process. And so we've heard from a number of them already. And they have, much like beef producers, they're very worried about dairies and the cow and their manure, so enteric methane and manure methane, and that impact on the environment and other greenhouse gases as well, like nitrous oxide. So I would imagine that we will do work in climate mitigation from dairy production systems and also in climate measurement. So one of the things that we would really like to do is to get more precise measurements that are coming from our predictive equations. So how can we use data that we're collecting at the dairy level? And that would be production data from the cow. It might be emission measurement data from the dairy. It might be costs. So really understanding a full suite of sustainability, social, economic, and environmental measures. And how do we get more accurate prediction equations so that dairies have more precise modeling ability, and so that they can actually use those models as decision support tools, and then actually demonstrate that, right? So say I made this change, and here are the outcomes that were associated with that. And then through that creation of those outcomes, can they differentiate their product to different consumers or customers or processors? Is there a market they might be able to eventually, a future market they might eventually be able to take advantage of? And how do we we really equip them with those measures that they need to drive a more profitable outcome for the dairy? Because that's a really important part of sustainability too, right? We can improve the environmental impact of food production. We can improve the social impact of food production. We can create stronger communities around food production, but it's imperative for our food producers to be profitable and to work through that profitable financial business model. And so that's something that we're really excited about. The other thing that I think our team will spend a lot of time on in dairy production is around health. And we have some incredible scientists that are really passionate about stress physiology in dairies. And how do we really help the cow from a health standpoint to make her more sustainable? So oftentimes in research, we identify the animals who are not good performers, right? So we say, well, this animal is unhealthy for these reasons. But we've spent very little time actually looking at what a healthy animal is, right? So it's a little bit about changing the notion around research. And I think we have some scientists who are really excited about creating a healthier cow and how can that contribute to more sustainable production systems. We also have a scientist who specializes in beef on dairy research. So what can we do with that calf to make them more productive, not in the dairy system, right, but in the beef system, but clearly dairies are making those decisions. And so our ability to link some of these big systems questions through beef and dairy production systems, I think is unique. And it's something that we're really excited to do through this partnership with DairyMax.
And I believe you have a big ribbon cutting coming up here next month or something on a new climate smart research facility. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a ribbon cutting for our climate smart research facility, and we're hosting a research summit on June 14th. So the ribbon cutting is the 13th. The research summit is the 14th. We invite everybody to please come and celebrate with us. So the climate smart research facility is something that our team is very excited about. We have an incredible research facility at Colorado State University that is only about 12 miles from campus. And many know it as the Agriculture Research Education Development Education Center, ARDEC. And we have basically, through in partnership with our producers, transformed ARDEC into the largest and most innovative climate smart research facility in the country. And that was made possible by producer donation of more than $1.3 million of equipment. And in some cases, they gave us that equipment. And in other cases, they're leasing it to us for $1. But it essentially has positioned Colorado State and AgNext's as the leading school around really measuring greenhouse gas emissions at scale. And so we're owning this white space. There's many universities, not many, but there's plenty of universities that that work in the greenhouse gas production space. And most of those universities have head box systems or whole animal chambers or large bubbles. That's Davis, where my alma mater, I did my work. And those animals live in a little bit of a different production environment where often there's pros and cons to everything, but we're oftentimes in those production environments as scientists testing, does the technology work? Right? Does it actually do what we think it's going to do? And there wasn't a lot of white space, but there was a lot of white space between that and then taking it to commercialization. So really doing commercially relevant research. So with these new climate smart pins, we're going to own the in-between, which is we take technology that we know works in very controlled environments. We see the reduction, let's say, of enteric methane that we expect. And then we test it in a bigger system where we don't measure full greenhouse gas emissions all the time. We measure them at different times from every individual animal. But those animals live in their natural environment. They eat a natural diet. Their feeding behavior is very, very similar. And so it's really this question around, is it scalable? And what unintended consequences do we see? So we actually have the capacity to measure methane and production from 300 head at one time in confinement. That's more feedlot systems. And then we have the ability to measure 120 in a grazing system at one time. And so really kind of getting numbers that are big enough to be able to understand performance implication, potentially animal health implications if there were any, and then also see if those greenhouse gas reductions maintain as we increase the number of animals and the variability between those emissions between animals. So that's really exciting to have that facility and that ribbon cutting. We're going to welcome everybody to celebrate it and see the work that we've been able to accomplish there.
Yeah, that's very impressive. That's exciting too. So
thank you.
Anything else you'd like to leave our audience with here today? Any final thoughts?
I just think oftentimes when we think about sustainability, we want to think about it or some people want to think about it very much in an ivory tower. And we need to be really careful that we involve those producers who are responsible for the production of our food in those discussions, the solution development, and frankly, the research that we do, because they are incredible. They have incredible knowledge of their systems and of their production strategies. And we're so excited to work alongside them to innovate kind of the next phase of animal agriculture production. And we really look forward to the partnership, not only with DairyMax, but all of our producers that have been trusting enough to come work with us and to help really create something that is different and unique and will hopefully contribute to enhanced resiliency of our food systems.
Well, our thanks to you today, Kim, for taking the time and to bringing us an update on what AgNext is up to, and of course, great luck in your ribbon cutting in your new facility. That's like I said, very exciting that you get some real-time solutions when we look at a lot of these, as you call them, wicked challenges. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
That was Dr. Kim Stackhouse-Lawson of Colorado State University's AgNext initiative. We want to thank you all for joining us here today as well. As a reminder, all Feedstuffs 365 programming is available in on-demand format at feedstuffs365.com, so you can view it at any time, even share it with your friends and colleagues. Until next time, for Feedstuffs 365, I'm Sarah Muirhead.